Hi, my name is Jennifer.
I'm Yolanda.
And I'm Ayelet.
And we're the Really Fun Games Company. Our mission is to create really fun games that connect people through laughter and surprise.
I do love that pitch. It's so nice and easy. Like I go, I love games. I like to be surprised. Well, take that back. I'm one of those people, I don't like to be scared and I don't like to be surprised. So you can never throw me a surprise party, but I do like those elements of like, I didn't know. So I do like those elements. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more. So hello, ladies.
Hello.
This is gonna be fun. So I always like it when I have multiple people on a team because there's just like so much energy that's coming from you guys. But before we even talk about your company, I always like people to understand who you are. So I don't know who wants to start, but let's start like, who are you guys? Let's talk about from where are you? Where did you come from? Tell me about your family and then talk about how you guys met. So we're gonna go back and forth from your past to your present off and on.
Okay, I will start. My name is Ayelet Stein. I was born and live in Israel, so that's where my English accent. Sorry about that. And I'm married to Gidi. We have 4 kids. And since I was a child, I love playing board games and creating games. And it was my favorite hobby, but I never thought it can be my job. So I learned chemistry and computer science, and I worked at high tech for about 20 years. Only in the last few years, I decided to take my passion of creating games more seriously. So I studied developing games and toys in Shankar. It's a design institute in Israel. And I even published some of my games, card games for kids. I manufacture them in Israel and sell them to local stores in Israel. It was a learning experience for me because I did the whole circle from inventing and designing and manufacturing and selling and marketing, everything. It was only a small amount of games and only locally, so it wasn't not profitable at all. But it was the beginning.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Next.
Yolanda, you want to go? It's my turn.
I can go.
Okay,
I'm Yolanda. And I'm also from Israel, but when I was 12, I moved to London with my family. So I'm half English. And I studied architecture there, my degree in architecture. And then we moved, I got married to Yuval. Now we have 4 kids. At the time we moved to Boston, he did his MIT MBA there, and we lived there for 3 years. Then we moved back to Israel and had our kids. And Ayelet was my next door neighbor since we were like 4 or 5 years old. So we've always known each other. We've always played games, and so I've always known about her passion about games. And I also know Jennifer from our kids. Our daughters were in kindergarten together. So we've been friends for a long time. And I got those 2 together.
Nice. Okay. All right. Now, the third element to this story.
So the American over here, American Israeli. So I was born and raised in Virginia. And made my way to Israel about 25 years ago. Following after a boyfriend who's now my husband. 4 kids later. I'm also loving this gaming business and building games. I also wrote some books about personal development, and it actually won some awards, so it's kind of exciting. And I established a charity called Hope Home to Purpose, where I lecture on how to get to that, who am I really? How to find your purpose in life. So that's kind of how we met, because I always talk about this. Like I talk about purpose and life, and it's exciting. So I was talking about it with Yolanda. I wanted to build an app, which I'm still going to do. And I wanted to make it a game. So I asked Yolanda, how can I make this a game? Because you went and studied. They both studied in Shankar, which is like this big gaming thing here over here. So I asked her, how do I do this? And she's like, well, let me get my friend Ayelet, who loves to play games. You know, she's passionate about it. Let's sit together and see how we can make your app happen. So from that app came this wonderful board game that it's not, we don't say it's a therapy game or it's a, you know, it's a.
Wait. I'm going to pause you. Before
Okay.
we get there, because I have questions.
Okay.
So, full disclosure, I had someone's husband on the podcast before, and he couldn't stop raving about his wife and what she's developing. And so needless to say, first question is, 2 entrepreneurs in the house. What is that like? Meaning, yes, everyone knows Israel is startup nation. Everyone knows, the world is jealous because the world wants to try to create what you guys do very well. One of the things that I was just discussing with someone the other day about, because I focus so much on mentoring, and I was saying how, I was talking about internships, and I'm like, one of the people that I hire for internships are folks from the military because they need a bridge to get into that job. And they were like, and the guy was just like, well, I would have never thought that. I go, well, think about it. Israel trained their military, because everyone has to go through the military, unless there's like small circumstances, but everyone has to go through the military. And after they leave, they have all this knowledge and they want to create. Why are we not doing the same thing? And in the States, we don't do that. So why not give the internship to an individual that's in the military? Because they have all this energy, they have all this like discipline, they have all this oomph to want to create. And so the 2 of you, now coming back to your house, the 2 of you in Israel, startup nation, both of you in the military, that were in the military. Now you have your lives, you have your studies, you've done so many things. Both of you are in startups. How does that work in your house?
First of all, I began to have my job, the partnership only in the last 2 years. Mm. So before that, I was working, and he was working too. So it's okay, but it was not a startup.
Yeah.
Now it's easier because the children are not so young, and they don't need us all the time. And because of the pandemic, we're working a lot from home. Mm-hmm. It is not abroad all the time. Yep. So it's easier.
Well, can I answer something? I have to say something, because when we do like Zooms with all 3 of us, like Ayelet and Gidi are there. So I hear Gidi talking, you know, in the background. He's doing his thing. And Ayelet has like, you know, this whole, like, I'm like, you know, Michael Jackson thing going on over here and talking to us. And like, it's funny. And the kids running around. So it's really interesting, but they make it work.
They make it work. So again, because like, again, this is what we do. We make things work. USA girl, born and raised in the US. You are not, so I was in Israel in 2019, and I had Shabbat dinner with a family, amazing. And one was from Boston, one was from New York. And they're like, we're going to meet. We fell in love. We're just going to go to Israel for vacation. And they never left. And they have 4 girls and the whole entire thing. So what made you leave Virginia and go to Israel? And what made you stay?
Oh, it's pretty much the same story. So yeah, it is. I went to actually, I had a friend who was in college and went to NYU. So I drove, you know, over to NYU, up, right? Up, yeah, to NYU. And I went out and I met my boyfriend at the time at a bar, which I said, you know, never do that. I'll never do that. Never say never. So I met him.
It's funny that the young kids right now think like, I go, you used to meet people live? Oh my God.
Yeah, it wasn't ever seen. We didn't have those dating apps way back when, right? So I actually met him, and after a while, you know, I decided I'd move to New York a little bit and try, you know, my way in New York from Virginia and try something new. And for some reason, he's like, let's go to Israel to meet my family. And, you know, you can go to Israel. And I'd never been here. I never thought to come here. And so I did. And actually, I stayed here. And we have 4 kids, too. So it's the same story.
What did your family think?
Well, it was kind of like I was going on vacation. So it wasn't like drastic at the beginning. It's like I'm going to Israel. And, you know, back then, though, there were a little bit of the bombing and everything going on, which is kind of scary because, you know what? Until you live here, you don't really know.
No, exactly.
It is scary. It is, but it's not like they show it on the news. You know, it is, but it's, you know, it's different. So that's it. So
I always tell people, like, I mean, I worked in the media, and I always say, I go, if it bleeds, it leads. So whatever's the story that's the hottest, I will get the shock and awe. And also, it's not, and I tell my mother, because I tell my mother, stop watching the news, because it's not the news, it's my news, it's my ratings, it's my bonus check. So please be very wary of when you're watching the news, pick and choose and have 3 touch points to make sure it's actually factual.
That's perfect information. Like it really is. I don't watch television, so stuff goes on and I really don't know. And if I need to know, it comes to, like I hear somehow. So, but everybody has their personal choice, right?
I was in the media. I go, I don't watch the news. I stream. I don't have a TV in my house. I stream. I go, and everyone's like, oh, you don't have a TV? I'm like, do you not see what I produce all the time? I'm like, I go, are you kidding? I can't even keep up with myself. So no, I don't need to have a TV set in my house.
Wow. I wish I could have kids and a husband and you know, it's a personal choice, but it's a great choice. I mean, everybody can choose, but it is like for me, as soon as I switched off the TV and the radio, by the way, like I hear music in my car, but I usually I like the, you know, to go over my own thoughts or just have like quiet or just, you know, some kind of music, you know, with different frequencies. That all comes back to personal development, but there's it's a whole new world out there, people.
It really is
a whole new world.
Yeah.
World.
All right. So wait a second. So the 4 kids were born in Israel.
Well, I was really young. When I came here, I was 25. We got married 3 years later in America, actually.
Okay.
And came back to it. We thought we were going to stay in America. So we came just for a little bit, like a couple months to America. We're like, nah, I mean, we love America. I love America, but my husband, like, you know, we had to come back. So so we came back and built a life here and it's wonderful. Yeah. Nice. We brought everybody. They all wanted to come to Israel, you know, to see Jerusalem and to go through all, you know, Christians, and they wanted to see, you know, all the places of Jesus.
It was huge for me too. I mean, I'm like, Jesus laid here. Jesus laid here.
Exactly. He walked here. I'm walking in his footsteps. Yeah.
I go, the room, the 12 apostles, I go, oh, the room is smaller than I thought, but okay, this is the room what they have. It's true. I mean, as a Catholic, I mean, I was that person as well, where like that you're just so overwhelmed with just everything you grew up with, and you're in the locations of the Holy Land, and it's epic. It's absolutely epic.
Did you feel the energy? Like I feel it when I come here. When I go away and come back, it's like,
oh, you know what? It was. I always say that I love and hate history. I love history because of when I go. I am lucky that I travel around the world and I get to be in places. So when I'm in Cuba, I'm like, oh, this is where Chai and Fidel were hiding. I go, this is where Jesus was lying. I mean, I love knowing that whenever I go anywhere, I go to the museums, I go to historical like locations, and it's real for me. When I'm reading history in a book, it's not real because it's somebody else's words, and I don't know what mood were you in when you're reading and writing the book. So for me, even in travels, I'll get the travel book after I come back because I want to sit there and ask the people that are there, like, where should I go? What should I do? And everyone is like so open and excited that you're in their country. They're like, oh, you should go here. You should go here. You should go here. I don't want to go just by what's in a tour book.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. All right, we can go on for days. I'm sorry.
The energy here is like, as soon as I step off when I go out and come back, there's some kind of energy here. I don't know. It's like hard to explain. Just the whole dynamics of what goes on in Israel. It's different from anywhere in the world.
I think that everyone has the same feeling of where they are from. For me, it's like, I'm from Haiti. I go, and so, I mean, conceived in Haiti, born in America. I love saying that because my mom was 8.5 months pregnant when she came to America. And for me, it was just like whenever I'm in the Caribbean, I'm like, I go, like, It's just nice. All right, Yolanda. Traveling around the world, seeing different places. You're here in Boston as well. Like, how was it for you bouncing from place to place? And why did you guys decide to go back to Israel? Because we have a direct flight from Israel to Boston. We have a huge Israeli community that's here because obviously you could go to California. No one wants to go to California because it's just like longer to get home. So everyone comes here, and we have a lot of amazing, mind-blowing startups that are here that are based in Israel, that was started in Israel that came here. Cybersecurity, obviously the grand poobah of all things. A lot of the companies that I work with, all Israeli. That's how I met Jodi, like he came here. So how was it for you when you're traveling around? I mean, you were raised in the UK, you were in the United States, you were in Israel. I mean, what were your perspectives? And I mean, how was that for you? And why did you decide to come back to Israel?
So first of all, Israel is home. And the minute I left Israel, I was basically in a constant state of missing somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And that only was relieved when I came back. But having said that, when I moved to England, you start to absorb the culture, you learn, and you really, when you live there for many years, you really start to think English, and your humor seeps in and everything. So she loves the English humor.
We always do that.
I have friends from the UK, and I always say, like, you have to have thick skin to have friends from the UK.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have thick skin, or my friends from Ireland, if you don't have thick skin, because it's proper, but then there's like that dry humor, and it goes for the jugular, and you're like, wait, compliment, insult, wait, what is it?
She gets me. You see, she gets me. Thank you.
The English just pretend to be polite. Actually, they keep jabbing. They look for the next jab every time. They do, because otherwise life is boring.
Yeah.
And then having been anglicized, I've moved to America, and I thought I was going to be in this modern country, and I came to Boston, and suddenly it seemed even more backwards for some reason, because the architecture is very European, and the people, and it was different than I expected. I expected it to be like the forefront of everything. But
we are in some things, not in a lot.
Yeah. And the reason we moved back to Israel was basically because I got pregnant, and we wanted to be next to the parents, next to the family, to have our kids and raise our family in Israel.
Right. The three of you guys got together. What was did you have in your families, did you have entrepreneurs? Because being an entrepreneur, owning a startup, is not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of work. You love what you do, but now you have to think about all the other parts of business that you have to learn how to do. And so how was that for you? And did it come from your DNA, as in, or are there family members that are entrepreneurs or in the business world that you're like, I have essence of it, and so like I can figure my way through? Or is this all new, straight for all of you?
You want to start with your dad? I love the story. I love it.
No, it's all new for us. I saw Gidi, how hard he's working, and I didn't want to do this, but I feel it. We didn't have a choice. We so wanted to get our games outside there to the world, and we just decided that we have to do this. We have to do this, but to do it by my own.
I agree with you, but I think it's in the air here. I think people talk constantly. Like eventually, the conversation goes to the next idea that we should do. It's like it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You're having a casual conversation. You know what? We should have a company. That's the next startup. It's a casual conversation here, and everything is possible. And you hear, and they're popping up all over the place for the last 20 years, and so nothing seems impossible. These are kids I went to school with. Why can't I?
I have to say thank you to my parents, because growing up, they were working a lot, and we had to be very creative and to get stuff done. And it's kind of like being an entrepreneur from a young child, like getting out there and not, working and stuff, but figuring out how to get stuff done so you could get like a whole bunch of stuff that was going on. So that was fun. And my husband's an entrepreneur, which is lovely. He's always like I look at him and I see the things he does, and I'm like, wow.
Mental.
He's like, if he can do that, I can do it too. Like, why not? So of course we have the kids and everything. So the kids grew up a little bit, and I found myself a little bit from the personal development and who am I really, asking that question. And it just really does. It opens up a whole new world. I think one thing in Israel, though, people here set goals. They talk about them. Like, what are you going to do in your future? I mean, I'll save that for the end. But that's the thing. Like, goals are so important in life.
I love that you just said that, because I tell friends, family, clients, colleagues, if the second you tell me that you're going to do something, the follow-up is, what's the date? And they look at me, they're like, what? I'm like, what's the date? Because if you said it to me, I'm going to hound you. So I hear you're running a marathon. What's that happen? When does it happen? I want to go. So I mean, if you're just saying it and you don't put a date on it, then it's not real, because you'll get distracted. Life distracts you. And so to set the goal is one thing, but to put the date on it is like, I am telling the world that I'm doing this, and here's the date, and join me. And I think that's one of the things that people don't do, because they stop short of completing their goals, because they don't put hard, I told people, or a date on it, and it just goes away.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about why gaming is so important. Like, and like, I shouldn't say gaming, because when people hear gaming, they think video games. But why games? Because I mean, I grew up in a house where my dad, there was a puzzle on the table. There were makala, there were Chinese checkers. We were like playing games in the backyard. We were always playing games, and he never let us win. So they never let us win. They were like, I go, just want you to know. And we're like, why don't you, where are the kids? Why don't you let us win? He's like, his life isn't that way. You have to like earn your win. So why is game, the game world, the industry, why is that important to all of you guys?
It's connect people. It's like a real world, the real life, but it's a play. It's not dangerous or complex like life, but it's really like life. It's in a nice way, in a fun way. And you're not playing alone. You're playing with people, with your friend, with your family, and it's a fun memories after that you play with them and all the things you do together. Yeah, it's a way of life, I think.
Got something to add?
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'll say something about games, because of the app that I wanted to build. The game is super important, because if we could see things in our life as a game and not take things so seriously, like, okay, take it seriously enough to go and do it, but you take the chance and just play the game, because life is really like, it's a game. I mean, I don't want to make light of it, because life is amazing, but if you look at life as a game instead of looking at it like stressful and everything is like, difficult or challenging, then it's not so fun.
Yeah. I think that one of the things that I said, I used the word game in a conversation with someone the other day, and she took it so offended. She was so offended. This is not a game. I'm like, yeah, okay, so let's just wheel back. And I'm like, it is, because honestly, there's the strategies, there's we'll call the allies, there's all these different things where when we're younger, we understand what are the rules of the game. I go, and when you understand the rules of a game, whether it's sports, I mean, there's rules to the game. And there are, when done well, everyone wins. When done poorly, and even the teams that lose, they come back better the next year, because they're like, okay, I lost, I'm going to come back. That's why when we had that little bucket of a window where everybody was winning, I'm like, what do you mean everyone wins? I mean, if everyone wins, I'm like, how do we get better? Because everyone won. Everyone gets an award at the end of the sports season or whatever it is. And so for me, all my greatest memories are from playing the games when we were younger, but also even just when I'm playing, when I'm just downtime and I have a version, a 10,000 version of Candy Crush. It's just like the strategy of people are like, well, how's your score better? I'm like, well, think about those games, and that you'd get the little square and it's like the little the little things that go slide, and it makes a
Tetra,
picture.
Ken.
Yeah, we have, I mean, all these things existed. So it's not like these things are all revolutionary. They stem from something that we already know of. And so they bring back memories. They find ways to calm us. They like have us winding down. They help us build what strategy is all about. And yet people are just also like, they're stressed out. And when someone uses the terminology game now, they use it for the negative versus no, bring it back to what the original words were. And so
Play, experience, yeah.
well, now bringing into a lot of schools, as you've heard in the States, are getting rid of recess. They're getting rid of that time.
Really?
Yes. Because they want to get the test scores up. So less time for outdoor play and more time of getting those test scores up. But other countries are starting to see, but they're like, do we want to go that route or not? What are your thoughts about more and more people are focusing on getting kids to focus on better grades and not on the structure of gaming? So where do you come in with what you've created in the world of kids on video games, kids not playing enough, kids not being creative enough? Where are you guys? Where do you fit into this changing world of we want more from our young people, but yet now that our young people are being stressed out? So how do you fit in?
Wow, that's such a question for me. Can I answer this one? I'm sorry. I'm actually writing a syllabus for schools for personal development, personal awareness and development. So, and for community awareness and development. So I'm writing this whole syllabus of how we can figure out who we are, our emotions, our actions, our thoughts. And through that, we play also games, because I think through games we learn. It's not only that I say that, it's scientific facts, through games we all learn. When we were younger, you said this the best, Ayelet. When we were young, we always play games. We imagine, we play games. That's how we learn and grow. So why do we stop? Why do we stop?
Yeah. That's
how our neurology, gets the fires and wires together. Why can't we do fun things and learn on the way? Of course, there are, sit down and study and, write or do the things you need to do in school, but there's so many other ways to learn. And I think that taking away recess, which is like, we have like 40-minute spans of, or 20-minute spans of learning, I forget which one, of attention. So to take away that fun part of, life, I don't think it's going to make learning easier or better. Well, we'll see. I don't think so, but
if that was true, the Google offices wouldn't look the way they do.
Yeah, they play all the time. Have you been into a Google?
Yes. Yep. More and more companies. Well, more and more companies are adding that whole entire, like, we want to have like that whole entire concept of the gaming rooms, like the ping pong tables and things like that, because sometimes back in the day, and I shouldn't say back in the day, still to this day, people in the business world, they go and play golf. They go play and they're playing golf, and the best deals are made on the golf course. And so now it's not that it's not done on the golf course, but it's now on the ping pong table.
Yeah, there you go. So if we take recess away, what will happen with our kids?
It is a scary moment.
They're going to improve their grades. I don't think so in the long term. I don't think they will improve grades. I don't think the grades will improve in the long term.
It's stressful.
But on the other hand, if you take all these Asian countries that are very, very strict, you get Indonesia, they get amazing results. But I don't know if it hits the creativity. I don't know.
It's funny that you even say that about the Asian culture. So I was in Japan and China, and it was very funny because and we went to Toyota City, and we sat down with Toyota. He went to Babson, where I went and did my MBA. And one of the conversations that we had with him was, he goes, I worked really hard to get my degree and to make sure that my children get their degrees in the United States, because we as a culture, we are not innovative. And I'm like, and so when he said that to me, I'm like, I can go in Beijing and I'm watching people with Tai Chi, I'm watching people with a painting, I'm watching people with their creativity in regards to their clothes, I'm watching people on the train with big stacks of comic books. I go, you are creative. They're like, no. We don't intertwine. We don't bring our creativity in our work, and our work doesn't go into our creativity. Where in the States, it's a blend. It's all, everything is a mosh podge. And that's when people are like, I'm working at a company and they have a concierge where I can get tickets for a show. They do my laundry, there's daycare, everything's at work, but I'm always at work. Yeah. So it's interesting on that part. How does your game work? I mean, how does it work with, so the industry of, you're watching toy stores closing down, you're seeing more people buying things on Amazon. During the pandemic, you saw a rush to get puzzles, then we ran out of puzzles. How does your game come into play, and who are the best people to use it, and how does it work?
Can I just say that in relation to education, we do put an emphasis on education in our game. We say it's like an added value to our game, because that's the way we think, that's the type of games we like. And we won't go just for the next hit if it's like a funny little gimmick, and we won't go after that, even if it looks fun, because we want games that use our brains, intelligent games, and that develop our intellect. And our games are like that. They use conversation, they intonation, whatever it is, whatever our angle is, memory, whatever our angle is, and it has to be fun and it has to be funny, but it has to have some added value too.
Excellent. All right. So how does it work? What happens? What do we do?
Well, let's ask her a question. Can we ask her a question? Today?
Sure. I think we introduce the game, one of our games.
Okay.
This is really, and it's really.
Yeah.
Think you know me? Yes, again. And it has a bunch of questions with answers, and it has and it also has these dials where you can choose your answer, 1 out of 6.
Okay.
6. And it has ice pieces that are lovely, lovely ice pieces for scoring. You get 10 of these, you can't see, 10 of these ice pieces.
Okay.
That you need to get rid of while you get points.
So what happens in the game is, sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was going to ask you, is this like, so is one version, or are there multiple versions where people can buy multiple containers?
There will be.
There will be in the future. Right now, we're working on expansion packs. So extra sets that you could get on different themes, like movie theme, sports theme, adult theme, maybe like, we're working on that. We have some, we'll see what happens in the end. But the way this game works is you have the questions. And what happens is everybody gets the ice and everybody gets a dial. And then you ask the person asking the question is the one you answer for them. So you kind of guess their answer. Okay. So this one says, these days, I wish I had more. 1, followers on social media. 2, space in my wardrobe. 3, siblings. 4, pets. 5, gadgets. Or 6, free time. So can you hold it up there? So if you
wait, is this for kids? I mean, what's the age group? Because I was gonna say I feel like that's
from 8 to 120. Like everybody can play it. And it connects the generations. You don't know the conversations that come out of these games, because your perception of a person is sometimes it's not all the time, but sometimes it's just way off. Like their answer will be totally different than what you think it is. Because we're always changing, we're always evolving, and that's like hence these days, recently, lately. We put these in the cards so that when you replay the game, you can change your answer. It's totally fine to change your answer. We're not the same people,
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So the game is interesting and fun to play it over and over and over again, because the answers don't have to be the same.
That is like,
and then you're like, really? And that's the name of the
game. It's a conversation that starts, obviously.
Well, what I like the most about that is, the one is the card games. People love the card games. I could play Uno. I've played Uno since I was little, and you could play Uno till the time that you die. Like Uno is amazing. Cards, traditional cards, since the dawn of day, everyone likes cards. These questions that open up a conversation, I love them so much. And the one that I've never played, but I know about, is with the Cards Against Humanity or something.
I've heard about that,
yeah. And so I've heard about them, and I'm like, I go, oh my God, those questions. They're like, I go, literally, Jodi, people told me, they're like, I go, Jodi, the conversations that come out of it, and it's always that people want to talk. People want to find ways to talk and not be afraid of asking. Where me, I'm a dangerous 10-year-old. I will ask you anything. I don't hold back. so I don't need a card to help me. But people are trying to find ways to open conversation because everyone is like, "Ooh, I don't want to offend. Oh, I'm afraid. Ooh, I don't want to." Like people are just like walking on eggshells every single day now. But these cards come out, they're like, "The card said it, so I'm going to ask it."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What did?
That's why. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's why we have the answers in it. You don't have to say what you think you really think. That just choose the answer that is fit for you.
It leaves, it takes the hot spot, the hot seat out of the, like I brought some those conversation cards home because I need, to talk with my kids. So I put them on the table and I like ask these open questions, like, "Ooh, this is fun. Let's ask these open questions." And the first few were okay. And then we got to a deep one and they're like, "Oh, Mom, come on. Like, enough. Don't cry. Why are you prying into my life?" And I'm like, all right, it's the questions. It's not me. And they don't want to answer them. So I'm like, we have to have answers.
But if they were playing with their friends, they would say it was no problem.
They won't play with their friends. They won't play those types of games with their friends. But these, they play with their friends all the time.
Because the answer is already in.
And it's always with humor. It's always, right? It's unoffensive.
Yeah. It's not offensive. It's for family.
Well, I mean, and I think that's
donate games to schools here. We donate games, like copies of games, and they say that the kid, and we come and take them to other schools, and they said the kids love it. They want to play over and over. It's amazing the feedback from the teachers and the kids.
And if the kids love it is one thing. Well, if the teachers love it's one thing. But if the kids are like the kids, because they tell other kids, they tell other people, which is a really good thing. March 2020, the buzz is in the air. Pandemic is on the rise. Countries start closing down. Not your town, not your store. Countries start closing down. The world is closed. What does it do for you and what you've been trying to do? I mean, you've been working on this for 2 years now?
Since the end of 2019, right? Yeah.
So 2019, we're going to a new decade. People are excited. Like, yay, new decade. Everything is going good. The economy's doing good. So what happens for you guys? I mean, what happens to what you've developed? What happens in your family? I mean, what was it like during that time? And even now, look, we're 2 years-ish into this. What was it like at the beginning? And what is it now for you?
You guys want to answer?
Yeah, awesome.
First of all, we started our whole company like we said, in the end of 2019. I had the opportunity to take these games to Florida, to a high school, and to play with the 9th graders and 10th graders. And it was like on a board with 8 different categories of life. Like it was like, my therapy thing going in there. But it was still fun with the answers. It was still, of the same basis. The kids loved it. And once we saw that, we're like, oh my gosh, we have to do this. So when I got back, I said, we have to go for this. So we started to make some prototypes, right? Now, it was all fine in November. We were just hearing about what's going on around the world, right? It's still outside. It wasn't, at home, in our face. So I came back and we decided we'd have to do this. So we started to.
We said we will go to the toy fair. There was a New York toy fair in February.
Yep.
This year.
Originally, you were sort of selling the idea that it wasn't a company that they were going to set up. They were going to sell the idea off to a big company to buy.
In February of 2020, just before March.
So we went there to the toy fair. Continue.
And when you came back, the world shut down. Nobody was answering phones. Everybody was home. Nothing was working. Nobody was, right? Everything was.
They loved the idea. We spoke with people from all different huge toy companies. It was really, really fun. It was very interesting. And for me, I'm like wide-eyed because I'm not into. I didn't do this game thing. I'm like, wow. It's amazing. They have toys everywhere. It's like the largest toy store in the world when they have these things. It's very fun. So when we came back, no one called us because, the whole world shut down. So they were shut down. And the last thing they're probably going to do is give us a ring, let's talk about your game. Hello. So we said, let's do it. Let's just try and find. So we just scraped together pieces and formed these games. And we had to even change our print of our cards that we did. We were the last order for the
Yep.
printers here in Israel before they closed the doors. So
Yeah.
they closed their doors. We got everything sent to us and pieced everything together and sold by word of mouth just to get it out there because, you know, everybody's at home anyway. It's the perfect time, right? So we did that and we just got wonderful feedback. So we're like, okay, now we have to mass produce. And
we mass produced. We called China. And they did. And that was before, and we managed to get the shipping okay, right? It wasn't before the big delays. We just in time, we got it into the US, we got it into Amazon, we got it into Israel, and we're selling. Yeah, and then we got distributed to get to Sachekna, which is a very well-known distributor in Israel, very high-quality games, liked our games and bought our games to sell in shops. So now we didn't have to deal with the shops; they had to deal with it, and they're doing an amazing job for us. And then
I had to stop it because that was amazing. We
Yeah,
were
it was-
super excited about
Yes.
that because we had all these games coming, and we're like, okay, what do we do now? I'm gonna fill my living room with these games. Like, what am I gonna do? So you know, and then for Sachekna, they're like, you know, like she said, like a huge distributor here in Israel. Like they've been around since '87, I think.
yeah.
Right? And they're just like, wow, amazing. And for them to love our game and to take it on, you know, we were super excited.
It was out of this world.
Yeah, because they have like Think Fun. I don't know if you know Ravensburg, all of the puzzles, all of
Yep.
the high quality games. So it was really an honor. So really thank you to them. And
So the business sounds, the pandemic and the business worked very well together. How did you guys, I mean, like the excitement, but you're excited about the business, but we're in a pandemic and then you have your family. So how did that work? What was the dynamic of you're excited for work, but then you have your kids at home and you're like, they are at home learning. So how did you balance being co-founders and you're like,
We're laughing because we put them to work. Yeah, they were like they were helping us with the questions.
And we didn't have to drive them to course and to school and bring back and to friends. They were all at home.
You'll see all of our pictures. Those are our kids, you know, like they're like all of our professional pictures on Amazon and all these plays are models. They're like our kids. The videos are of our families. Like
So the pandemic was, I mean, there's a lot of people, whenever I speak to them, they're like, Jodi, I don't want to admit it, but I go, I really enjoy the pandemic time. I'm like, I ask her, like, how did you spend your pandemic vacation? Because as long as you knock on wood, cross fingers, God, that everyone was healthy, it was a moment of pause. It was a moment of pause where you're not running from soccer game to baseball game to art class to ballet. I mean, like you're not running around. And I mean, when I was younger, and I always say, like, being a Haitian kid, I felt like the pandemic was designed for us because we weren't allowed to leave the house anyway. And so for me, I'm like, there's Jodi, are you okay? You're at home. I'm like, I'm good. I'm fine. I actually love this. And so it's interesting how people went from, it was the worst moment of my life to I'm good. And so what advice would you give to, because you had, I mean, and you're not the only one that had great experience during the pandemic and owned a business, but what advice would you give to anyone? Because in the States, I don't know if you even saw, in the month of April, 4.4 million people that had good paying jobs left. Like literally, people are just like sick and tired and sick of just working. And so they want to have that balance, and that balance has never been happening. But what would you say to people where you have a business, you guys, the three of you guys came together, you have children, you have husbands, you have a business. Where do they start in regards of making, like, from the idea to actually making it happen? And how, like, even how to find each other? I mean, a lot of people are seeking co-founders. What would you say in regards of starting a business and finding the right co-founders?
Do it with your next door neighbor.
No, you know what? You can do anything if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you do. So first thing would be to believe in what you want to do and know what you really love to do. Because if you leave your job, okay, you can always go back if you love it at some point, right? You can or be creative and figure out how to do that at home. Mm-hmm. But you've got to love what you do. I mean, life is too short to not love what you do. And the money and the success will come, because just from that energy you bring to it, it'll come. You know, and I say find a great peer group, because I have these guys, which I'm so super excited, you know. But if you're doing it on your own, you need to find people that are doing it on their own, and just support each other, because support is so important while you're you're building something.
Ladies, we have any other thoughts about that? Especially during, I mean, like, again, you're at home and you are navigating so much, but yet you are now business owners.
Yeah, I just want to say that I just want to say that it's so much easier running a business now. Everything went online and everything suddenly is so smooth. And the business, like all the banks and all the other companies, they rose up to the situation and they made it so much easier that you didn't have to leave the house. We really did make it work. Everything was touch of a button, like reach the bank, everything is possible now. You don't have to leave the house for a meeting, and it's amazing. You can meet anybody wherever they are, in America, in Israel, wherever, and it's nobody gives it a second thought now. And I think it's amazing.
I think that's one of the things that people forgot about. I mean, because people kept on saying it can't be done unless it's face to face. I'm like, no, you can meet face to face. But whenever people call, they're like, can I take you out for coffee? I go, no, I'm good. I have coffee in my house, but I can meet you on Zoom. I go, and not being rude, but for me, I live an hour north from Boston, and so that means I have to travel into Boston, meet you for 30 minutes. You buy me my coffee, and I have to travel. But it doesn't make sense in regards to being, conducive of having a day that flows very well. So I agree with you, that seamlessness of being online. And there were so many businesses that they were like, I don't want to. I mean, what would you say?
On the other hand, the way we thought about our other game, Tongue Twisters, was such a card game that you have to say those tongue twisters without twisting your tongue, without getting confused. So this kind of game could never have been done in Zoom, right? Is it backwards?
Yeah.
This is the kind of this game was born. If you want to continue, we were writing the instructions for the really game.
Yep.
And we were getting all these convoluted sentences and trying to say them out loud and from that we found these funny sentences we were saying. We were working late and we were tired, and we saw how funny it was. And Jennifer said that wouldn't this make an amazing game?
And I just like that, it just came out like, let's do a go fish game with tongue twisters. Like 3 words, go fish. You know how to play go fish, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm older than all of you.
So usually go fish is with 4, so we made a 3-word go fish, and we also have a 4-word go fish coming out in December. So that's what we're working on now, to get it in for December, for Christmas, to have it out there for the holidays. So this one, just say, what is this one? Double bubble trouble is an easy one. Once you get the set, you have to say the words 3 times fast to win the set. So we have snake, seeks, snacks. So if I get snake and seeks and snacks, can we show them?
Yeah.
If I get snake and sneaks and snacks, all 3 cards, then I have to say that really fast.
And then you win that one. Oh, those are so cool.
Yeah, and then you win the set. So, but tongue twisters are really good for all of your mouth, the motorics in your mouth, and enunciation, pronunciation. There's a whole educational thing that comes behind those. So it's like, this game is awesome.
All right, when that one's ready, I'm ready to buy that one, because when I get together with my girlfriends and we're drinking, that will be even more fun.
Everybody says that. We did not make it for that. Although we were like tired drunk when we made this game, but not from alcohol, from being
for girls' night. That will be fun. It's clean and it's fun, and we'll you'll exercise your face, but also your belly. You will, either way, you're exercising. You're burning the calories of the wine. You're just burning the calories of the wine, which is good. I always get so sad because literally, see how fast the time goes. The time goes by so fast, and I know I go but this is why I always say this is never going to be our last conversation. This is just this is the opening of many more conversations to come. Because I may be bringing you back in December, as early as December, because we're it's the toys and getting gifts into people's hands. It's gonna be really tricky this year. And so you may get an email saying like, I need you guys back in December. But for now, we are gonna end. I love it because I'm gonna get 6 answers here. I always end the same exact way with, if you had a personal ask and a professional ask, what would it be? Because we as small businesses, we ask for our businesses, but we never ask for ourselves. So I always ask the two, a personal ask and a professional ask. And I'm going to need 6 answers. So each of you guys can go, whoever wants to go first.
I have no idea. You go, Jennifer.
They always look at me because I talk. I just keep talking. Okay, personal ask. You got to get yours together. Personal ask. So this is for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what I want for me, people. I want everybody to find their purpose in life, because once you can do that, this world would be a much better place. Like, look inside, who am I? Why am I here? Because you're here for a reason. So, find your purpose. Like, look for it, because if you don't look for it, you'll never find it.
100%.
Okay, that's my personal ask. And my professional ask is, while you're looking for your purpose, play our games, yay, because you can actually find out who you are through our really game, and just have really fun, a lot of fun, like twisting your tongue with triple tongue twisters. So you can find us on Amazon. You can find us pretty much now on Amazon in UK and US. That's about it. Thank you. That's
Beautiful.
My personal ask is to be everything is the same today. I have really good life, and I want to continue that way. And for professional, I want all our games that we have already designed, that I designed and we designed together, to be published and all over the world.
That's just beautiful. I love that. And last but not least,
So long answer. I was gonna say I was very happy, but now I can't say I'm just happy who I am. So I'm thinking personal ask, it's just to develop my skills and whatever I'm doing. If I'm learning video editing, if I'm learning all those stuff, just get better and practice more. And which is also a professional ask, really. Can I just combine them?
no,
you
know what? I'm going to tell you. No, you cannot combine them. You have to have separate ones.
So separate ones. So following on from that, so we can have more videos onto our marketing efforts in Instagram and Facebook, and so we want everybody to follow us and get to know us better and to get bigger.
Beautiful, ladies. Oh my God, this was fun. I always say to people because people are like, I don't know, I'm nervous. Like, this is like just a conversation of just let's get to know each other, because why is it that we know all these big celebrities? I go, but yet we don't know the people that are literally our neighbors. I go, and for me, I would rather know my neighbors than know every single, what color toilet that Donald Trump bought. I could care less. That you have a gold toilet. I don't care. I should not know that. I don't care. I go, but I want to know more about people that are creating things that are making my life happier. And so I'm very, very happy that you guys came together, are creating ways for kids and adults. We're always kids. So all of us, all the children in us to create, which I'm so happy about. But I'm also happy that your husband advocated for you and said, my wife is so amazing. You got to see what they're doing.
Sweet, yeah.
So I'm really, really, really happy. The introduction was made, but I'm so happy I got to just have a moment of just talking with you and just learning about what you guys are doing. And I really can't wait to get my hands on one of them. So can we buy both? Well, the cards aren't ready yet, but can we buy the game that you have right now? Can we buy that on Amazon?
Are ready. They're flying off the shelf in Amazon. We'll have you know. Yeah. So
good. All right, but what about the other one, the one that's right behind you?
So this is the 3-word one, which is triple tongue twisters.
Yeah.
The next one is called tricky tetra tongue twisters, which are 4.
But the triple one you can buy on Amazon.
And this game is on Amazon too.
Oh, sorry, because I was gonna say because the thing is, I always like to find unique holiday gifts. I'm tired of the same. Board games, the traditional board games are the traditionals. We love them. The Monopolies, the Stars. There's certain things that are traditional. I love those. But I mean, everything else out there is just like, I go, I want them to think. I want people to sit there and be like, ooh, Auntie Jodi, because I'm like Auntie Jodi to everyone. I want them to sit there and say, she doesn't get us regular gifts because it's always books and something unique. I like the unique. So I'm happy that you're providing me with an easy Christmas shopping list this year. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. I go, and again, I literally will probably contact you guys for December, but for now, have a wonderful evening.
Thank
you.
you. Thanks a
Bye,
lot.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.